sign on.
See, we extemporaneously decide to come up with one each time, and each time it is rich and unique and perfect, and then we claim that we've lost it in some terrible editing mishap, and through that we just get to keep building but never deliver.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you break the fourth wall, because that was our introduction.
Oh, I see what we did. I see what we did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, good one, us.
So, we're back. I'm back. I feel like I've been under a rock for months.
And it feels so good. I'm loving it. It is good to be back, Starbase 118. It is award season. We just handed out a whole big pile of them to a whole big pile of people. So congratulations to all our winners. And of course, congratulations to absolutely everyone in the fleet for just being here through a tough year.
Yeah.
Glad we're making it to the other side of things.
That's right.
Now tonight, I think we're going to spend some time kicking back a little bit, trying to find a way to just relax with our Star Trek in a fun kind of
getting mad at video games.
Oh yeah, by getting real mad at video games, by getting furious at video games. I think there's even a meme about that. Like, just like now I'm really angry. And that's why I love this game so much.
Oh, but like Star Trek video games. Star Trek has had a long, storied, and sometimes very complicated relationship to video games over the years. And
some have been amazing. Some have been also amazing. Some have been terrible. But those were amazing.
I do have one underdog favorite. Well, maybe not favorite. Well, maybe favorite. I don't know. Regardless, we'll get there eventually. But did you know, you probably knew this, Teller, but one of the first proper video games, it depends on how you draw the line as to what counts as a video game and what doesn't. Yeah. But regardless, one of the first video games was not licensed, was not official, but it was a Star Trek game.
Oh, I did not know that, but I'd believe it.
It was, the premise was loosely that you fly around. It wasn't totally dissimilar from Asteroids, right? But one of the ships that you could fly around was the Enterprise.
Oh, very nice. Well, it was a classic design. It did end up in the Smithsonian for a reason.
Yes, it did. I got to
see that model.
Oh, yeah, cool. Me too. It was so good.
Yeah. We've already gotten way off topic. It's fantastic.
Yes, we have.
We are back. Yes. This is the shambolic conversational style you have come to know and love over 4 previous episodes. And now we dish up number 5. Woof. Well, feels good.
And since we're just building tangents on tangents, this is now a Night at the Museum podcast where we discuss in great detail each of the 3 movies of Night at the Museum, just repeatedly.
Should I go into full NPR voice if we're going to do Night at the Museum? Good evening. I'm Daniel Merbelman Minsk, and I'm filling in for John Jeffries Jonathan, who has taken off work for 11 months to study the migration patterns of our nation's sparrows.
Where did this voice come from?
Partially a lift from Parks and Rec, and partially just bad sinuses.
Okay. I was going to say, I haven't heard you intone so beautifully before.
Oh, well, thank you. You're welcome. My voice is an instrument. It's like Harry Kim's oboe.
Mine's a bit more like Riker's trombone, just unwelcome and quite loud. Now, so video games, right? So it started with that maybe not quite official thing.
Hold on to your neck, folks, because we're snapping back in another direction.
Yeah. And this isn't
out.
This isn't an explicitly chronological. We're not trying to talk about every game. We're just trying to talk about the ones that are, kind of worth talking about.
And it's, truly stuck in our memory as we were coming up. This was uniquely fun, or it was very Star Trek somehow.
Mm-hmm. Or something else entirely.
Or deeply, deeply awful.
So before we hit record, Teller, you were telling me about what was it? The Pixel Graphics Interplay.
Oh yeah,
game?
the Interplay game from the I believe that was, it might have been like the Star Trek 25th anniversary adventure game, something like that. It's in my Steam library. I think I bought it when it was like $1.99 again, but I owned it on, and this is gonna hurt to say. Pretty sure it was 3.5 inch floppies.
Oh, 3.5 inch. Come on.
I mean, it wasn't 5 1/4.
Yeah.
Which is good, but I mean, I had to think about that because there was a real chance.
Yeah.
Just say this is like a non-zero chance it was on those 5. And folks, if you don't know what we're talking about, well, fine, then get off my lawn.
We're talking about save icons. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much all they mean at this point.
Oh, I felt that one in my knee.
Right?
My knee.
It's okay, tangents on tangents. Why not?
It's going. I think it's going good. I mean, this is how we do it.
That is true.
That's what feels nice about it.
The save icon has become, like, the floppy disk has retroactively become the save icon, from a functional standpoint for a lot of people that are young enough to have never really dealt with
and have never seen that device.
Yeah.
Well, also, why is it called cut and paste? How is paste involved?
Yeah. And so it's like these metaphors that were needed for people at the time to adopt the new technology, to understand, like, if I click that button that looks like the device that I save things on, that will save it. Right? That was an intuitive, representative icon. And now it's not representative anymore. It's just an abstract symbol.
Right. I mean, at some point, it should theoretically change to like a stick drive, I guess. Something like that. At least that would be sort of relevant. But honestly, by that point, we'll just have all gotten so used to everything being in some cloud somewhere. Yes. We probably won't even think about it.
Yes.
Like, and the concept of saving will go away.
Yeah.
Everything will be, to a certain point, persistent. Like your desktop experience, your computer experience this is a big concept for the future that we've not seen too much explored in Star Trek outside of Star Trek Picard. The idea of virtualization, of running a computer that is yours, but from any piece of hardware that you have available.
Yeah.
So, Rios walks around, he can bring up the same interface from wherever he's standing, and, boom, he's flying the ship. It's all good because it's all holographic.
Yeah.
It's the same idea, and it's cool. That's going to be your home computer in 10 years.
It's a fascinating thing. Boy, this is how we know we're getting old. Okay, so back to talking about a pixel graphic video game from 25
which I just
years
found
ago.
the manual of, and it's in black and white.
Ooh, beautiful.
Oh yeah. And for the record, apparently it was released on enhanced CD-ROM.
Ooh. Okay.
Required, scorching system requirements here. 386 SX or better.
Ooh.
560K of free low memory. Might need to make a boot disk, folks. A Pro Audio Spectrum Series Sound Blaster Series or 100% compatible sound card. DOS 3.1. Dig out those floppies.
Wow. What a time. What a time to be alive. But tell us about this game.
It's so much better now, honestly. Just so much better. Yes. I've not had to pull an IRQ jumper off anything in 20 years, and I don't care. I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, fine with that.
But
anyway, that game was awesome. It was a early RPG, as we would think about it in modern terms, that let you basically play through multiple episode length adventures, set in the universe of the old show. Cool. There's even a canon interaction between Kirk and a young Carol Marcus, the
Oh,
woman
really?
he eventually goes on to knock up.
Oh,
Yeah. It's
interesting.
it's weird that it's like that's part of the story in here, but at one point this was like blessed with canon.
Huh. Speaking of Dr. Kel Marcus and inevitably the Wrath of Khan, I just learned today that the phrase "revenge is a dish best served cold,"
Mm-hmm.
like phrased that way.
Famous Klingon proverb.
Well, apparently, at least according to Wiktionary, it seems like that particular phrasing comes from Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. That was actually originated with that movie, as amazing as that sounds.
There were a couple other kind of similar sentiments that used some kind of idea about like revenge and coldness prior to that, but they're phrased totally differently. I can't even recall them because they don't really like stick in the mind in the same way. It really takes Ricardo Montalban to really sell that line, you know?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, because he's selling it to you with the Corinthian leather. It was fantastic. He acted the hell out of that.
Mm-hmm.
There's very few people who can act as hard in a Star Trek movie. Like that's usually William Shatner who's out front acting.
Yeah. Watching those two try to one up each other in their acting in Wrath of Khan is beautiful.
There was big acting. Big acting. And it was fantastic.
So much fun.
Oh yeah. So good.
So anyway, RPG. One of the early exemplars of an RPG, huh?
Yeah, okay. Totally. And good, for the time, like gorgeous pixel art graphics, like surprisingly good animation and sound effects and stuff like that. There was away team missions. There's puzzles to solve, and it was cool. It was a Star Trek experience, and if you get the opportunity, it pops up on Steam sale for a couple of bucks every now and then. Grab it and play it, or there are a couple of playthroughs online, and you can just watch it almost like you'd watch an episode.
Cool.
Yeah.
The let's see. I'm trying to think what my first Star Trek game experience was.
Yeah, can you take us back? What was wee young Laz first looking at?
I'm pretty sure that at some point I had rented the TNG Sega game from Blockbuster and played that a bit.
Ridge Commander, maybe?
No, I want to say it was more like an RPG setup.
Ooh.
It was. I don't recall enjoying it. But it also could have just been a little more complex than I was used to. In those days, I was more on the gaming level of like Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, still am once and always.
Oh, okay. So here's what I got. Quick Google search.
Mm-hmm.
There was a game for the Sega Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your console of preference back in the day?
Oh, absolutely.
Good choice, by the way. Genesis. I also went with the Genesis and then with the Sega CD.
Ooh, excellent. Yeah. See, I went 32X.
Oh, I don't think I ever played this one.
There's like 5 games for it, and they're not particularly good, except the Star Trek one.
Developer, a Spectrum Holobyte. That's interesting. They made some really good games. They also made some very terrible games.
I just remember the color palette being dreary and just not really understanding what the hell I was supposed to be doing at all. And being very confused.
Let's see. So from apparently Electronics Gaming Monthly at the time, it gave the Super Nintendo version a 7.5 out of 10, praising the sound effects, but criticizing the gameplay as slow paced and boring at times.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's what's bubbling up from memories long ago of like, what am I doing? And this is slow.
But the Sega Genesis also had a Deep Space Nine game.
What?
That was like an action platformer?
Oof.
At least in part. Yeah, you could at one at least at one point, I am very hazy on the details, but I definitely remember playing as Captain Benjamin Sisko jumping around the promenade. Well, maybe not jumping, but definitely navigating the promenade like in a side scroller kind of setup. It's very bizarre.
Star Trek Deep Space Nine Crossroads of Time.
That's it. That's the one. And that's the closest we'll ever get to a Deep Space Nine movie.
The player controls a member of Deep Space Nine's crew, mostly Captain Benjamin Sisko, but also Dr. Julian Bashir, Major Kira Nerys, and Odo. Most of the game's levels are cinematic platformers. One is a horizontal scrolling shooter.
I didn't get that far into the game. That sounds like it could be interesting.
Yeah, wow. These are the kind of things that like I'd love to throw an emulator on and like go dig these out and try to get it working. But I just know that's going to take me like 45 minutes to play a game that's going to give me a migraine.
You played for 10 minutes and go like, it's probably a reason people don't talk about this too much.
Right, exactly. Like I should have left this in the, the halcyon memory of youth and not looked at it again, because now, oh God, I can see literally all of the pixels. Yes. I can count them. There's only like 9.
Did you have any other like childhood or childhood adjacent Star Trek gaming memories?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I remember, I guess I was more on the PC side by that point, kind of thinking about it now. Yeah. That's probably why I wasn't getting as many of those later console games. So I was playing, I think it was Star Trek Armada, which was a real-time strategy game that was great. It let you control the surprisingly, and especially for the time, like big and diverse modern Starfleet ships in these big, like multi-section combat operations and stuff. It was dope. I remember it being really cool.
You'll be pleased to know that there's still an active modding community for Armada. Yes.
Wow. I'm kind of proud of that.
Right?
Yeah, that makes me weirdly happy somehow.
And I missed Armada, and I've learned about myself that I have a really hard time going back to games that I like, older games that I don't already have a specific affinity for.
Okay.
Right? Because then it's harder to like see them through the lens of nostalgia and see past the jagged edges.
Well, I mean, especially games that are like resolution limited or something like that, or have really shonky control schemes. Yeah. It's just difficult. They're just literally difficult to play. Yeah. It's not a reflection on the game itself. It's just you're not playing it on a Genesis on a CRT TV anymore.
Right.
And now
I need to be coddled. I'm a modern gamer. I need auto saves after every button press.
I need that the rat getting the cheese thing like every single time, like a big ding up in the corner, like the exact waypoint of where I'm supposed to go next.
Yes,
I want to be spoon fed this. I'm old, slow. I don't have time for your Legends of Zelda.
All right, listen, I'm here to relax, not game. Okay.
And there we are, folks. Like, we hate it, but we keep coming back to it. Because that's the nature of gaming sometimes. Yeah,
it sure is.
It's about giving yourself the perpetual challenge. It's always slightly over the next rise.
And while there has never been, at least yet, a true successor to Armada, there have been some really ambitious fan projects to overhaul other RTSs into the Star Trek universe.
Oh yeah, I've seen some of those because I threw the one in like, for
Galactic Empires, I want to say, is one that has a really complete overhaul mod.
Nice. The one I'm thinking of was for Stellaris.
Oh yes, that's exactly where I was going.
And and there was one for I think Homeworld or Homeworld Cataclysm.
Oh really?
That was a total conversion mod for Star Trek, and it was dope.
Well, I'll have to take a peek at that.
Oh, yeah.
So for Stellaris, I think it's called Star Trek New Horizons, and if you've got the game, really can't recommend it enough. I mean, it's free. It's a free mod conversion. It's on the Steam Workshop. Worth checking out. A lot of depth. I mean, they totally reworked that game. Not always for the better, but you know.
But it's and it's part of the awesomeness of the PC as a platform is when you get those unbelievable fan projects that, you know, can completely transform a game. You know, they just build up on the engine that's there and turn it into something beautifully referential. That's great. Like, you know, it can add years of new content to a game if you're that kind of gamer.
Oh yeah. Now, we've been talking about like thoughtful, cerebral, if you will. That word gets thrown around with Star Trek a lot. Games.
I like it. I mean, we're talking about Captain Baudet, that guy who you can see through his skull, right? That's what you mean by cerebral?
Yes, exactly.
No? Yes, exactly.
I need some pew-pews, you know?
Yeah.
I want to fly around in my spaceship and I need to pew-pew it up. Where do I turn for that in Star Trek?
Well, okay. Let me ask you a couple questions then, Laz.
Okay.
Hey, Laz, do you like kind of shonky fan fiction?
Yes, I do.
Do you like paying for it in like $20 loot box chunks? Well then, buddy, have I got the game for you. Come on over to Star Trek Online.
Legacy? Oh my God, nobody remembers Star Trek Legacy. What a great game.
No.
I do. Give me a moment on Legacy before we go to Star Trek Online. 'Cause I feel like we're going to have a lot to say about Star Trek Online, but
I mean, it's you know, it's a topic of some heated opinion,
some import. Yeah, many moons ago, Bethesda, known for Fallout, Elder Scrolls.
That's what people have a saying.
Yes, there's a saying amongst my people. No, they were originally going to do a licensed Star Trek game that was going to be an RPG that included both ship-based combat and land-based combat. And the game wasn't going well and blah, blah, blah. Long story short, it just became truncated to a ship-based game only. And what makes it unique is that
this.
Oh, you have played it. Okay, good. I was going to say, because what makes it unique, it is, as I believe it's still accurate to say, that it is the only Star Trek property where at least at the time, all of the captains recorded dialogue for it.
Yeah, that's true, because there's Enterprise, there's original series, and there's Next Gen.
Yeah,
and I think there might even be some stuff from
there is Deep Space Nine and
Voyager.
Yeah, every captain's voice is featured in that game.
And actually, that's Laz, I've got the trivia contest coming up.
Okay, that's gonna be on it, huh? Wait, are you?
And for those of you listening out there,
are you running the trivia contest?
Oh, I wrote up the questions, Laz.
This means I might actually have a chance to do well, since you won't be participating.
I mean, heavy is the head that wears the crown from last year, but still, like, you know, my solemn duty now is to make this year a challenge for everybody else. And I mean, you know, I don't think they're bad. I mean, some of them could be described as cruel, but
good.
I feel fair.
Good. Yes. Who was the best boy grip?
At least one or two, somebody I guarantee is going to be angry.
Oh, good. I'll start studying up the crew for every episode, the crew listing. I'll memorize all the best boy grips from TNG just in case.
Solid. Yeah, good to see. I feel like I gotta change like 7 questions.
Best boy grips is also not exactly what it sounds like, but also exactly what it sounds like.
I mean, they've got great wings.
Yeah. No, so Star Trek Legacy, kind of a deeply flawed game and very much like fanficky story where the plot is that a Vulcan scientist from the time of Enterprise kind of like goes off her rocker and is in search of perfection and creates the Borg. And it creates...
Why would you go and do that?
I know. And even weirder, it has Kirk, a very, very old and tired William Shatner voicing Kirk, where it's like they pulled me out of retirement to give me one more mission. I got to go fight these Borg things. And so
I'm going to sleep with them.
Or actually,
it's going to work somehow.
I remember now, because part of the importance of maintaining the semblance of canon making sense is that they didn't have a name for the Borg, and they didn't know what they were called. Like the characters talk about that, like, what the hell was that?
Robot guys.
Yeah, and then eventually you get to the point where people know what the Borg are. But what's really funny is you have like Kirk saying like, I don't know what those things were, but hopefully we stopped them. Maybe it'll be taken up by the next generation. Ooh, and something like that.
But what did he mean?
What could he have meant?
I can't.
What makes it funny to me though is while you're playing the game, you know that there's a lot of like ship to ship chatter. So as you're fighting the Borg, they're constantly calling you, be like, "We are the Borg. This is what we're about. We're going to assimilate you. We're called the Borg.
We're the bad guys. We're quite evil. You can see it. Like our ship lighting is weird and green. It's very threatening. Look at how this is a cube. It's a big cube. It's very scary. So evil. Like, do you want us wearing capes? Like, what would make this more evil?
Maybe I should be kinder, though. Kirk was very old. Maybe he also had Charlaf syndrome?
Well, the thing I was going to bring up in regards to Kirk and being old and it being hilarious was he was in a couple of full motion video sequences for a game called Starfleet Academy.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Decked out in the monster maroon.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I'm pretty sure he phasers a whole room full of people at one point.
Of course he does.
Like that's something I remember so vividly for some reason is him like standing in front of an obvious blue screen and like half drunkenly just, this is on wide area stun. Zap. All right.
He more or less emotionally impacted by that than the time that he saw his replacement first officer melt on the transporter pad in Star Trek The Motion Picture?
I'd put it roughly the same.
Okay.
Did barely seem to register.
Pretty disaffected. Okay, yeah.
Then I think he probably got a scotch and soda. I'm not sure why that specifically, but I feel it was that.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly what Bones would be handing him, so why not?
True.
Okay, so enough about Star Trek Legacy. It's not good, but it does give you the pew-pews, and the ship models are kind of good. But
yeah. There's a couple other out there that would give you some of the pew-pew experience. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention a VR title that I've actually got a fair amount of time in, and I know there are some fans of around the fleet. Star Trek Bridge Crew. It's a collaborative 4-player. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's basically you and your team of 3 other people take up the stations on a bridge, and you have to operate the ship basically by playing sort of little mini games, but collaboratively. And it's quite a lot of fun. So, it's a fun Star Trek experience.
It's weird in that I feel like the actual content of the game, meaning like the things that you actually do, like the missions you go on and stuff, not particularly interesting. But the social component, and especially if you have a VR headset, it is shocking how compelling it is.
Oh yeah, it's
engrossing.
It's shockingly engrossing, and you can slip into the silly role playing of it very, very quickly.
Oh yeah, it's great,
and it's just a delight.
And there's even an augmented reality game that you get to play every time you set out to play Star Trek Bridge Crew, and it's called "Can You Get 4 People to Get Their VR Headsets to Work at the Same Time, and Can You All Join the Same Game, and also Will the Voice Chat Work?"
Yeah, so
they're still workshopping the title of the game. It's a very long title, but it does explain it pretty well.
I mean, guys, there's a couple hurdles on the on the road to the cutting edge. A couple speed bumps and potholes. Yeah, I mean, it works
Mm-hmm.
most of the time. 60% of the time, it works every time.
Exactly.
But you're never quite sure.
Mm.
You're just never quite sure.
No. It's part of the fun, or at least that's what we tell ourselves. So Star Trek Online. This is the real piece de resistance. It is, I believe it's accurate to say, the longest running Star Trek game and the most successful commercially.
Mm-hmm.
But
I can't imagine there's anything else that would even come close. No. I mean, this has got, I think 10 years more.
Mm-hmm. I want to say they're on to 11 or 12 at this point, I think. I could be wrong.
11 years. Yeah.
Okay, wow. Yeah.
And let's see, the ones behind it, it's older than Star Wars The Old Republic.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, so it's been around.
Let's just say this up front, folks. If anybody out there on the fence thinking about playing Star Trek Online, it is absolutely, positively, from top to bottom, riddled with microtransactions.
Oh, I thought you were going to say bugs.
Oh, no. That's just, it's fine. I mean, it's not great, but it works.
It's okay.
60% of the time.
Yeah.
It works every time. It's the challenge. The challenge really is that the game has been monetized deeply. Yeah. It was originally sold as like a more classic MMO subscription model. This is, in its earliest days when it had really not a tremendous amount of content and there was very little to do.
Yeah.
It slowly morphed over the years as its player base changed and stuff like that. And it's a very, money driven microtransaction-y game now. There's always loot boxes for sale. There's keys for sale. And past a certain point in the game, you simply cannot be competitive with the gear that you can pick up just for free.
Yeah.
Which is an unfortunate reality, but the end game of Star Trek Online is, generally speaking, competitive multiplayer against other players or competitive just what are known as task force operations.
Yeah.
Just basically you and a team of, I think it's up to 5.
That sounds right.
Versus bots.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of them.
So the ship to ship combat in Star Trek Online really scratches that itch.
Oh yeah, there is a lot. Everything explodes.
Yeah,
there's a lot of everything exploding.
Yes, it is ridiculous. It is absurd, but I think it's also reasonably well done. I think it feels and acts more or less like Star Trek. It's certainly heightened. But
it's fun. I mean, they make an effort to try to do referential things to the show, to bring in weird effects that were used in one random episode. Then they're like, you know what? No, that's a thing.
That's a thing
turning
now.
That into a weapon.
The Badlands are just going to be in every other match. They're just going to show up and they're going to take up the whole screen. You're going to
see this plasma streamer a lot. Just get used to it.
But like as much as there's plenty of room to criticize it, one of my top
has been around for 11 years. It still makes money.
Yeah. Yes. And two, one of my absolute top gaming experiences I actually had in Star Trek Online kind of recently, where it was like the first time that I was starting to get paired up with like other higher level players. Maybe I'd bought my first ship or something like that. And paying real money for a fake ship is kind of painful at times, but
Yeah, but
it's got to get my pew-pews.
That is unfortunately the nature of the game past a certain point. Once you get past level 65 of the standard, like bringing your captain's level up, it really becomes about your ship and your equipment, everything that's at tier 6.
And then just totally ignore everything having to do with ground.
Oh yeah, don't. It's but there are basically 2 games in this game, and they are badly glued together.
Yes, Yes.
The ground elements are much scorned, and rightly so. That they're not great. They generally tend to not be the enjoyable part of the game for most people.
No.
But hey, I mean, if you like them, what I will say is they have spent an enormous amount of time writing lore that covers literally every enemy and random NPC that has ever been referenced in any show ever, even
they're in there,
like tangentially.
Mm-hmm.
They've gotten a lot of the original actors to do voice recording for some of the different missions.
Yeah.
So, for example, I think Rene Auberjonois' last performance as Odo is actually in Star Trek Online.
Absolutely, yes.
I know they Leonard Nimoy. He did extensive voice work for like all across like the UI for most of the Federation side of the story.
Yeah, especially like the base game
you get
stuff.
Spock's voice in there every now and then, which is very cool.
You'll just be flying through some sector of space after playing the game for like probably about 100 hours, and it's some sector that you haven't flown through before, and it's 11:30 at night, and suddenly Leonard Nimoy is shouting at you, just suddenly out of nowhere.
Yeah, I've had that.
When I first came to this sector, I found what?
Oh, what's up, Spock? What do you Spock? Spock.
The so the ground combat, I will say though, so the stories, we were talking about fan fiction, right?
Oh, yes.
There and we say this with full awareness of like, I mean, we're a group of people that write what essentially amounts to fan fiction.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Together. But come on. Some of this stuff
we are lovingly throwing shade because it is. I mean, part of it is they're trying to bend their narrative so that it fits within the parameters of the game world.
Yes,
and some of it is just they seem to kind of just jump around. Like, sometimes there does not seem to have been a plan. Just kind of go with it. You know, we're going to smash these characters together and see what happens.
And here's Tom Paris. What's he doing in the story? Well, he's delivering some dialogue. Okay, great.
nice to see you, Tom.
Yeah.
It's good. Nice you to pop out. Oh, hey, what's going on, Neelix?
Yeah. Generally speaking, though, and this makes no sense from a game design standpoint because, like, the if you start a Federation character,
I was always really upset about that.
I wanted to have the opportunity to do it myself.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, where can I punch that button? Like, if you folks, if you're listening out there, if there's a place I can do that, you DM me on Discord or something. I'll stop what I'm doing.
Press F to dematerialize Tuvix. Like the intro and the beginning of the game, like the stuff that they made first, is pretty bad. I mean, it's pretty really bad at times, story-wise and presentation-wise. Which is, you know, you kind of need to wow your audience early on. It never really gets
all that much better. It's just there's more of it.
Yeah,
like lots more of it at this point.
Maybe I just got desensitized to it, but towards the end of the campaign, and I just finished this playthrough of the campaign, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, so pretty recently. I found myself interested enough in the stories to actually listen to them instead of skipping all of the cutscenes and dialogue as fast as possible.
Okay, I mean, you know, I feel like different people have different levels of that because I'm very much on like I'm skipping through the cutscene so fast that I'll hit the button 3 times on the wrong button that just repeats a guy's name. Akar, son of Click. Akar, son of Click. Oh, damn it! No, that's not the close one.
No,
I don't care. There's a very popular meme of a guy on a motorcycle with an armored helmet on, and he has this kind of like bizarrely dead-eyed look on. There's a guy standing behind him just with a pistol in his hand, ready to like shoot out over this guy's head. And the text on the meme is, "I do not know what my name is. I do not know why I'm here. All I know is I must kill." and that's basically a task force operation. Like, it doesn't matter what the story is.
No.
You're there to pew everything in sight for the next 5 to 15 minutes.
Oh God! And I referenced one of my favorite gaming experiences, but then I didn't actually explain what it is. Okay, we got off on one of our trademark tangents.
We did it. We
had to do it to him. So it was like one of the first times that I was in a match with, I think it was a task force operation, with a bunch of other science ships that also were doing like, so for those of you playing along at home, there is the ability to generate like a gravity well. And it'll yank ships towards it, right? It's not quite a black hole, but it's that kind of idea, right? A big gravity well yanking ships towards it. And so in this particular map, there were, I think, 4 of us all had like high-level gravity well. Mm-hmm. I was going to say spells, but called abilities in this game.
No, it's space. It's an anomaly.
That's right. It's
different.
I'm casting anomalies.
Oof.
But the, so it was a bunch of people that all had this gravity well ability, anomaly, and we all just kind of cast it in one general lump. And there's some ways to like multiply it so that when you cast one, you actually get like 2 or 3. And so there were at times like 4 gravity wells on screen at once, all in the same cluster. And it was just ripping enemy ships from the other side of the map.
Yeah.
Just like rubber band, just like yanking them in. And then they would have so much momentum that they would sometimes fling past the anomalies, then get sucked back in. And big capital ships that are way too big getting tossed around like little toys, just because the game couldn't figure it out. If there's like this cluster of these different gravity wells, where does this object go? Well, the answer is back and forth and all over between them. And
it gets bounced around like it's in like a dryer.
Yeah.
Just ding, 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 ding.
Watching
pinball machine, maybe, would have been a more eloquent metaphor.
Yeah. Watching a giant, intimidating looking Klingon battle cruiser just get tossed around like it was nothing was outrageously funny to me. I don't think I could really explain it in a way that conveys how funny it was in that moment, but I was just losing my mind laughing and going like, this is great. This is what video games are about.
You go into a Star Trek video game, thinking of combat in the terms of things that like you've seen in the show, you've seen in the, the VFX and the CGI and stuff like that, and for the most part, that's, fairly big ships kind of slugging away at each other. You get lances of phaser fire and disruptors coming back and forth, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That is not what Star Trek Online is. Star Trek Online is basically like a rainbow-colored seizure generator.
Mm-hmm.
You will have a row, so this is up to 10 to 15 different abilities that all could be running in some way, all at the same time. Some of these could be weapons or upgrades to your weapons that make them do more damage and inevitably have some sort of sparkly visual effect on things.
Yeah.
And then you could turn on weapons that add a deflector pulse or a tractor beam or a gravity well like Laz was talking about. And more just bright lights and explosions on the screen. You can certainly do the slow flying around, just plunk with phaser, but you'll quickly find that does very, very little damage.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because it looks cool, just doesn't do anything.
There are times where the combat in Star Trek Online visually is reminiscent of a game called Rez. I don't know if you've ever come across Rez, but it is Rez, R-E-Z.
Really
yeah, it's it was designed. I think it was originally released on the Dreamcast, maybe, or PlayStation 2. Regardless, it's kind of old, but it was designed to mimic the game designer's experience with Synthesasia with music, and so it is very colorful, very bright, shiny, just gorgeous game. And way more like specific.
Rez. I played Rez. Rez was very cool.
Rez is a lot of fun. And the Rez visuals are a lot more carefully cultivated than Star Trek Online. Star Trek Online is beautiful and happy accidents.
Yeah, Star Trek Online, it's just like you're throwing varieties of rainbows at each other, and it's just
it kind of is that. Yeah.
I hate to to break it down so simply, but it's the long and the short of it is after a while it all just sort of blurs together. It becomes visual noise because you can't track it all in real time because of the sheer volume of it. And that's when you get into the truly insane levels of it. Is if you really decide like, I'm gonna try to get myself to a competitive level in the game for whatever good that will do you. You have to bust out like stat analyzing tools that the community has built over the years so that you can understand the damage that you're doing or the damage that other people are doing, or it's ridiculous.
It is really strange to play an RPG that is so focused on stats, but then also have it not make it easy for you to understand your own basic stats.
Yeah.
Like what Teller's
also depending on
here.
where you stand, like literally they'll change because it is two games glued together.
Sure. And as Teller's alluding to, if you want to know something as basic of like what is the damage per second that I am theoretically capable of outputting, even just from weapons alone, like not special abilities or whatever, game doesn't tell you. You gotta get a calculator. You gotta figure it out.
Start doing some math.
What is this, EVE Online?
Yes.
Come on.
Like fly that spreadsheet.
I don't want to do statistics. I don't want to do spreadsheets.
You don't want to fly Excel.
No. So, I don't know. What's the point of this? Is Star Trek Online good? I don't know.
It's a certain type of arcadey pew, and that's one large segment of the game.
Yeah.
The other segment of the game is there is a lot of ground mission content. It's a lot of boring, repetitive tasks, and it's a lot of pretty poorly written narrative.
Yes.
But there's a ton of it, and if you just hunger for Trek content, well,
saddle up to this trough.
There's a buffet. It is rich and deep. And honestly, the voice acting stuff, sometimes it's fun because some of these voice actors, like, they're just having a good time.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's clear they still enjoy doing these roles.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember the guy who plays Martok.
Oh, J.G. Hertzler is on it. He is on it. He's having a blast.
Every time he shows up numerous times in the game, and every time he's like full 100% the same energy he had in Deep Space Nine. It's amazing.
In fact, something that I noticed as the game progressed, because even from the very get-go, they had some very minor Trek actors reprise their roles as, like, Tom Paris's and B'Elanna Torres' daughter, right? Yep. That actor, they brought her back to give her a little story arc, which I think might not be in the game anymore. I don't know. I didn't encounter it in my most recent playthrough. It wasn't good. But the point is that, like, you could hear sometimes that the actors were pretty uncomfortable, like they didn't really know what was going on, or they weren't getting good direction, that sort of thing.
They were thrown into a sound booth somewhere and handed like a photocopy.
Probably, yes.
Say these 9 things.
But
we're only paying for the booth for a half an
hour. But yeah, over time with the newer release content, it feels like the quality of the voice acting has gone up, which says to me that they're learning a lot more about how to direct their talent and how to give them what they need to do a good job.
I'd hope so. I honestly haven't dug in very deeply into what the production side of Star Trek Online's voice acting looks like. I truly don't know. I would guess they work with external agencies at this point because they do have so much of this content developed.
Absolutely. Yeah, at
And
this
I
point,
think
they've got
I think the
specialists.
game has changed
Yeah.
hands at least once.
Mm-hmm. That's true too. That's true.
Yeah. So I mean that could certainly be a part of it, of the, you know, theoretical improvement in quality.
Well, and I think too, once they started really minting money with that game, and it's a weird flex because as you play it, text will be constantly appearing on your screen telling you about other people that paid money for the game but got a super rare token.
Yep.
And it's just a constant stream, which means hundreds, if not thousands of people are constantly just
pouring money into this game. Pouring money into this game.
But,
and it's willingly, happily.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But to the quality of the voice acting, I think we can get some insights into the production, aside from observing the overall improvement in the quality in like the actors' performances.
Sure.
I think what you mentioned earlier of like, hey, we've only got this booth for a half an hour. Like there are some straight up mistakes in the like what am I trying to say here? Lita from Deep Space Nine, she shows back up primarily as Mirror Lita, and it's
beware the wrath of...
Yeah.
Oh God, she's awful. I mean, she's doing what she can.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
It's cartoonish. It's
ridiculous.
like dialogue written for one of Tom Paris's holodeck adventures. Like it's Bride of Chaotica level.
That would be really fun if they do a mission where at the end you realize it was all a holodeck program. No,
right.
But
somehow locked in Tom Paris's holodeck.
Oh no! But there's instances of her dialogue where she's clipping, like you hear the mic distorting because she got too loud. Now that makes it sound like she did something wrong, but she got louder in her performance, and it like clipped and got distorted. I mean, this is not subtle. Anybody that was working with this heard it. And I guess they're just like,
that was the take they had.
That's the take we have. For whatever reason, we either are not going to pay her to re-record it, or we need to.
The other ones were worse,
or the other ones
we only got her for a day.
Yeah, and it was just kind of like, well, this is what we got. And I mean, that's embarrassing. I mean, there's no two ways to put it. You get it'd be one thing if it was some one-off NPC background thing, but like this is ostensibly a notable character in this story, and sounds like they're eating the microphone.
Yeah, and you'll find that comes up sort of across a lot of the missions where the quality varies. Mm-hmm. And it's, you know, again, if you're hungry for Star Trek content, boy, it's a buffet. But it is a buffet. Like, it's not a great buffet. Yeah. I mean, this is like
a Golden Corral.
Ooh, that's not a good buffet.
No.
I mean,
but you can dunk your shrimp. Oh, okay. But I was going to say at Golden Corral, you can dunk your shrimp in that chocolate fountain, and I dare you to find a culinary experience like that anywhere else. Molten chocolate covered wet shrimp.
Weirdly, I could see that happening in like a Lower Decks episode.
Probably
100%. Like that's just something Mariner is doing.
Yeah.
I love this chocolate covered shrimp. Like she's just holding it under the replicator.
Oh no! And I hope we didn't will this into existence. But
is art. It is. But as we are at an hour and 3 minutes, I feel like
before editing,
we should wrap up this art.
It's going to be really weird when the episode's only 23 minutes long. And you're like, it's like an hour 3. No,
it's fine.
I agree.
Fine with that. I mean, with, our trademark shambolic rambling is part of what draws our audience of, we probably get into the teens.
Listen, there are literally about double digits of people that will hear this.
See, we're doing it.
Yeah.
We're doing it.
That is, of course, assuming that you use like a base 3 or 4 counting system, but still double digits.
Yeah. I mean, in hexadecimal, we're doing great.
All right. So, yes, thank you all for listening. Thank you for welcoming us back. Teller, thank you.
It has been a genuine pleasure.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be back home, you know, drifting through subspace. It's nice.
And good talking to you again, good people of Starbase 118. This has been Jeff and Laz once again, podcast number 5. Thank you for tuning in.